Last week, I spoke about burnout and how it's a real thing, and how I recently felt the beginning stages of this, what I'm doing personally to overcome it from happening. And this is a huge issue for many small business owners who are juggling far too many balls. Give this one a listen to find out what I did to overcome this. Now, in this week's episode, I'll be interviewing Lori from Lorabell Finds and Designs. She is the store manager of Water Street Vintage and does an amazing job not only as the store manager, but also she has her very own booth. So you are going to see both sides of booth business. So let's dive in to this episode.
Welcome to the Rescued and Upcycled podcast with weekly inspiration, tips on trying new techniques, and overall real talk about owning your own DIY business. Now here's your host, Sonnet Ullenbrock.
Welcome back to Rescued and Upcycled. I'm your host, Sonnet Ullenbrock. I want to thank you all for joining me on my podcast. This is episode 33. And if you are new here, I interview creatives and small business owners every other week and love talking about all things business. I'm hoping I've been inspiring you along with my guest host. So this week, you guys, I am interviewing Lori from Lorabell Finds and Designs. I keep getting that wrong. I first met Lori at my very first Antique Acres barn sale. My friend Wendy introduced me, and she said that I might like to get a booth at Water Street Vintage. And Lori is the store manager of Water Street, and she just does an amazing job, not only helping manage the store with the owners, Jeff and Kelly, who are absolutely amazing, and they curate their store so beautifully. She also has her own booth, and so you are going to see both sides of booth business today. So let's go ahead and give a big welcome to Lori. Thanks for joining me today.
How are
I'm good. How are you? First and foremost, thanks so much for being on my podcast. I so appreciate it. I'm excited that you're here. And for my viewers and listeners who haven't had the opportunity to have found you yet, tell us a little bit about yourself, Lori.
Well, hey everyone. I'm Lori from Lorabell Finds and Designs. And so just that creative face behind the name, and I'm so happy to be here. So just a little bit about me. I have had a booth at Water Street Vintage for my anniversary month is this month, so 10 years. So it's pretty darn exciting. Yeah, 10 years. I know it doesn't seem like that long, but it is, and I love every minute of it. So something a little more personal. My other half, Jim, and I live on the Wolf River in small town Wisconsin here, and just love everything that river life has to offer us. So just excited that we get to wake up and that's a part of our life every day.
Right.
And he just retired 6 months ago too. So I didn't know how that was all going to go, but so far so good. We've been having a lot of fun this spring, summer, and fall, just picking and antiquing and doing all the things together. And so it's just been a lot of fun. So unexpected, but a lot of fun.
So you didn't know he was going to, he just said, I'm going to retire, and then that's what happened?
He's been talking about it for a while, but for several years actually. And it just kind of happened to come about this spring. And so, yeah, here we are.
That's great. I love it. And I love that now you guys can enjoy picking and thrifting and doing all those things together. So
For sure.
I'm hoping maybe someday I can weasel my husband into that. I don't know. We'll see. So tell us a little bit about Water Street Vintage. I know that, I tell my viewers all the time, my viewers and listeners, that I have a booth there as well. I haven't been there as long as you, but, I always talk about how amazing it is. So tell them a little bit more about Water Street.
Water Street Vintage is truly amazing. So it's a two-story, 15,000 square foot antique store right in downtown New London, with about 50 different vendors. So, and it is quite an eclectic mix of vendors and what they have to offer. So there's antiques, there's vintage, there's primitives. We have a little bit of mid-century modern. We definitely have new items, handmade items, and repurposed and recycled items. So it really truly is something that um, our customers who are local definitely just come on in and love our store, and we feel like we have something for everyone. So, and really what's kind of neat too is we take a lot of pride in ensuring that we have a very clean, a very organized, very good smelling store. It doesn't smell like an old antique store. And customers comment on that all the time and really appreciate that too. And I always tell them it's because we have such a wonderful group of vendors, you know.
Mhm.
So
Well, and you have to make a plug for Kelly and her amazing, like, scents that she makes, like, homemade potpourri for the holidays, so it's definitely you guys
yeah.
need to stop out for that, right?
Exactly. So she doesn't bring that out until we have our Moonlight Madness event, and that this year is on Friday night, November 8th.
Okay.
So, yeah, so we're open during that day on Friday. We close at 5. We reopen at 6, and from 6 until 10, we have live music, hors d'oeuvres, vendor sales, wine tasting. All the
Ooh,
good things, yeah, that make a Friday night. And then it kicks off our holiday open house then too. So
okay.
it's a fun weekend. And then that night, everyone knows that's when the potpourri comes in. So
I know. I'm getting some this year. I mean, like,
yeah,
I walk in and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, she has the potpourri," and she makes
yeah,
it all herself,
she
correct?
does. Yeah,
Yes, yep. Yeah, so it's
absolutely. It's
awesome.
good
Yep.
stuff.
Yes. Well, awesome. So that's kicking off the holiday. You said November 8th. So I'm going to
Correct.
make note
Yep.
of that too.
hmm
All
Definitely.
right.
It's a fun night out. And whether you do it with your girlfriends or whether you do it with your significant other, it's a really fun night out. So you should
Mhm.
come out.
Yes, absolutely. Now, talking about your anniversary being 10 years, let's just talk about how you officially got started. I don't even know. So how did you decide I'm starting a small business?
I don't know that it was such an elaborate kind of thing for me. I mean, really, I was working full time in a women's clothing store, which I had been at for years, and was store managing that, with them. And I think it was just that I wanted to get my creative juices flowing again and just getting back into things that I used to love to do all the time. You know, I don't know if you were like me, but I think growing up, we always had like 2 jobs or 3 jobs or whatever. And here I just have this one job that I went to all the time. And I'm like, okay, this just not enough. It's just
Right.
not me. I need to get things going again. And so I think that really that was kind of what it was is I just wanted to get my crafty side just out there again, and so we started with a friend of mine and myself. Um, we kind of just started setting things up in my garage, and we would have a sale every now and again. And so I could do like my handmade wreaths and, you know, floral arrangements and things like that. And she would bring her jewelry over, and we would just have a sale and just kind of all started everything again for me, just getting that all back again. So,
Right.
yeah.
Awesome. So that's how it started in your garage. So,
Definitely progressed from there, yes.
yeah. So from there, like, did you start out at Water Street or when did booth life happen, I guess, for you?
Really, it was more about then I started, her and I both were doing flea markets. So I would do
Oh,
Shawano flea market, Saint Germain, Boulder Junction, and do those things. And I feel like I was always kind of known as the gal that set things up, color coded, at the flea market. So here's my blues and here's my yellows and all that kind of stuff. But it was kind of cool because customers would search me out then and just kind of knew that that booth was mine once they walked in, and so that became kind of a neat thing.
yeah.
And then booth life came a couple years after that then.
Okay.
So.
So then did you jump right into Water Street or where did you start somewhere else?
Again, the same friend of mine and myself So Water Street opened in February of 2014,
Okay.
and um, Kelly and Jeff were kind of thinking like within a couple years we'll open the upstairs and have more vendors up there. But the demand became so big that they remodeled and opened the upstairs 6 months later in
Oh,
October of 2014. And
wow.
so my friend and I decided, let's go check this out. Let's go see what this is all about. And because going to flea markets all the time, it's a lot of work, and
Exhausting.
not that booth life isn't work too, but it's just a different thing.
Yes.
And so we went and checked it out, and we opened two booths right away upstairs and just started that way. And she kind of stayed with me for a couple years and then decided she just didn't have time anymore. Her job was her full-time job was really taking up a lot more time than she had wanted or thought it would. And so I just kept it up myself and just decided I'm not leaving this. I really do like it.
Yes.
So,
Yes. Okay. Well, that's awesome. And
yeah.
I mean, are you still friends with her today?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, because sometimes, maybe like things have changed or she just decided that she doesn't like thrifting or picking anymore or whatever. So that's awesome.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah. So like when you were together, was the name Lorabell Finds and Designs, or did
Yeah, that came much, much later. I didn't really call myself anything at that point. I didn't really know what I wanted. Nothing was
yeah,
making sense to me. I was never happy with anything. And then I thought, in some ways that's not the important part at the moment for
right.
me. So that didn't come until later.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah. So that had been a question to like, did your booth start first or did your management position start first? So you had a booth there. So how did all of a sudden, like you guys hit it off and Kelly asked you to be a manager or how did that all come about?
So definitely, yep, booth life first. And then probably about, maybe 6-ish years ago, I started working very, very, very part-time
Okay.
there. And
Mhm.
so just kind of working a couple weekends and a couple, hours during the week and stuff like that. And then in 2020, July of 2020, um, Kelly, I kind of just present like if you ever think that maybe a store manager is in your future, like please consider me, kind of a
Awesome.
thing. And I think too, like, you own this business, you run this business, and you just kind of feel like you need to do everything yourself. And you do that for as long as you possibly can. And then all of a sudden you just, you kind of go, okay, maybe I need a little help. And
Right.
so there were a couple of us that worked very, very part-time, and then it came about that I could take on that position and take a little bit off of her shoulders and what she was doing too, so that she could focus on other things that needed to be done.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah. So I know I need a Lori in my life. No, I do.
that would be so much fun. I wish I had more time for that.
I know. I would hire you in a heartbeat. So but
Uh,
yeah, like after it's getting to the point where yes, I completely understand where Kelly needed you. So that is awesome that she found somebody so amazing that could, be like her, basically her, because that's what like it's hard to find somebody to fit that position. And so you're doing such a, great job. I love every time I come in to Water Street. So yeah, Kelly's super, super lucky. Um
oh.
so how like as the store manager, I'm sure that you see so much on the other side of the booths. And so some questions I have for you, like what do you advise, someone who is wanting to set up a booth in the store? Like what like or in like they want to set up their very first booth. Is there some words of advice that you should, you want to give them?
I think that sometimes it's just the thought that you have to remember that it is a small business that you need to think about running within that store's small business.
Right.
So really thinking of it a little more seriously, um, that it's not just about we have a bunch of stuff and we want to we want to sell it. It is about that continuous, I'm going to go search for things. I'm going to go, find new things to fill my booth and restock my booth. I think that it's it's just thinking of it in terms of wanting a business yourself,
Right. Mm-hmm.
for sure.
Yes. One thing too, like people will say, "Oh, you have a booth? Oh gosh, I have a basement full of stuff. I wonder if I
Hmm.
could get a booth and just put it all in there." I'm like, it's not a rummage sale. It's not.
Right.
I mean, if you
And
just
we
want to
do
get,
have,
yeah,
yeah, we definitely do have people, especially like, had to clean up mom's house. We should probably get a booth. And I'm like, well, that's not really what it's all about. It is truly more about running your small business within our business, and then also letting them know that there are people out there to help them to take care of those things,
right,
or to just, start marking it, have a little estate sale yourself.
right.
It's the best way to take care of that kind of situation. But there's always somebody out there that can help you. It's just a matter of, I always tell them, we'll do just about anything to have you keep that out of the landfill, though. Like, we'd rather have it than it end up there, So.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Um, so what are 3 to 5 things that, if they're a booth owner should think about before considering opening a booth? Yes, it is a small business, that
Hmm.
it's a business versus
Yep.
just like offloading. What are some other things that you'd think of?
And just that you're going to have time to continually source items, in order to
Right.
restock your booth. I think that's extremely important, to know that it is a lot of work, that it's not just about sourcing now those items. Now you have to bring those home and you have to clean them, fix them, price them, get ready to merchandise them. You're hauling them in, to the
Yes.
shop, and
Yes.
then, creating all your vignettes and everything that,
Right.
to make your booth look as amazing as possible. So just knowing that the really fun part is the sourcing of it, the setting it up, and the selling of it. It's those
Yeah.
things in between that you still have to have time for, too.
I
Um,
know. It's the cleaning and the
oh
pricing.
yeah,
Oh my
it's no
gosh.
one's favorite job at all, like
No.
no one's. So
It
it's
is
just,
my
just
least favorite.
it's the least favorite, yes. So
Oh.
I think the other thing too is, to price all of your items. So a lot of times customers will come in and be a little bit, um, disappointed because maybe a piece of furniture is not for sale or something like that. So really just price all of your items. Just know that you can replace that item. You will find another piece of furniture, to replace that with. You'll definitely find more smalls to replace everything else with. So really just about pricing everything. Because I feel like there's no reason not to, So,
Yes, I
and
agree
the
completely
change
with
is
that.
good.
Yes,
Yeah, the change is good in your booth, and customers notice that. So,
right. I know when I
yeah.
first opened my booth, there were, like, some bigger items that I just was like, "I'll never be able to find another," whatever, and
Hmm.
then, people were asking about it so often, finally, I'm like, "Okay, it's time for a change, my booth needs a new look," and if what I've decided now is if there's something that I really don't want to sell, I just price it a little bit higher, and then
Right.
it still sells, so
It does.
it
It does.
does.
And that's okay.
Yeah,
You know,
it's okay,
you
I can
still
go
got,
find a new one.
yeah, you still got what you wanted. So I think another thing too is there's such, at least for us, and I have heard in other antique stores in our area, there's such a wait list,
Yes.
for people to get a booth right now. And so I think sometimes in the meantime, what would be great is maybe to look at going to flea markets or doing a craft sale or doing some kind of vendor event that helps you to hone your merchandising skills and really get out there and see if the customer is interested in what you're offering, see how your pricing is. They'll give you all that feedback, a
Yeah.
lot of times. And then to take pictures, because a lot of vendor antique stores are asking for photos of your things now as you send in your application to be a booth vendor. So have some pictures in your folder on your phone so that you can either send them along, or somebody like me just asks if you have any pictures a lot of times, just so I can get a better feel for what you have and how does it fit into our store, and kind of a little more about them too. So, and I think too, it just would help, besides those pictures, if they can start some kind of a Facebook business page, and maybe it seems soon. And I always say, like, that name doesn't always have to stay forever and ever and ever that they
Mhm.
pick for their business. It can change. I think we've all kind of done a little change throughout the years, but again, it's just a way that they could even sell some things online too. And just again, to help them kind of realize what's working and maybe what they can change or different things like that. So
Right. Those
just
are
starts to
really
get them a following.
yes, those are really good points because I think yeah, especially, like, going and getting your stuff out in front of people at, like, a market or a vendor event,
Mhm.
because, yes, I you learn so much from those,
So
so that those
much.
are really
Yeah.
good points. I learned a lot. I've done a
Yep,
lot of
me too.
I've done a lot of vendor events and then the flea markets, and it's amazing, like, it's very different, a flea market from, like, a vendor event because flea
Mhm.
markets, they wanna I didn't wanna wheel and deal because of my stuff, but they're so used to, like, wheeling and dealing, and so I'm like, "Sorry," but it's okay, they understood, but yeah,
They can
they
still decide if they want it or not. And just,
yeah,
it's okay that you didn't wheel and deal on everything. So
right. Yeah.
yeah.
So the one thing that I want to get better at myself is fluffing my booth and going in and always I want to try to go in once a week. That's going to be my
Mhm.
2025 goal. So, how often do you think a booth owner should be fluffing their booth or restocking? This is an area that I definitely need to be focusing on. I probably should be doing it immediately, but it's a 2025 goal. So I'm thinking once a week is my goal. What do you think?
Well, I think you would be a rock star if you did that. So, but anyway, I would say, um, realistically, probably a minimum of 3 to 4 weeks,
Okay.
to restock your booth. I think that that's a little more realistic for someone. So maybe you do one a week,
Right.
instead
Okay.
of trying to hit all three in a week. Um, I just think that, you know, what's kind of cool about Water Street Vintage, again, I can only speak to that store, but I can only assume that it happens everywhere. Every single day, 50% of our customers are brand new to the store,
Okay.
or haven't maybe come in like once a year. So they visit family in town, or family brings them in, or they're traveling and they stop in. 50% of our customers are there every 2 to 4 weeks, so what I never want anyone to see is, especially that customer that's coming in once a year, to see anything remotely the same
Right.
in your booth as they did the year prior.
Mhm.
So really just keeping that in mind, that all it takes sometimes is just flipping that vase from this side of your booth to this side of your booth. You display it differently, and now it becomes something that the customer is interested in and sees how it can work in their space and different things like that. But I think that's, no matter what, it just helps with the changing things around, especially like, so of course it's going to be if you sell something, you're going to need to restock and you're going to need to
Right.
move stuff around. But if you're not selling as much as you think you should, two in a month, I think that is the perfect time to, again, just move things around and fluff your booth. So,
Oh, absolutely. I know. I think too, like I go into my booths and I'm like, oh my Lord, what happened after the weekend? Things are all
Mhm.
moved around and other people's stuff is in my booth. And I'm like, I really should be at least going in or taking one day and just trying to make my rounds to, make sure things are tidy and organized. But
Right.
yes, you're right. Maybe that is a big jump from,
I
from
think so.
I have
I
goals,
want you
Lori.
to succeed.
I fail within the first month. I mean, you
Not
want
that
me
I
to hit.
would like to see you more often, but you know.
I know. Oh my gosh. Yes. So yes, thanks for maybe making it a little bit more realistic for me. Because I am busy too. So
You are.
yeah.
Yes.
Yes, I have a lot going on. But yes, I mean, maybe every other week. I'll
There
take
you
baby. Or,
go.
yeah, maybe like baby
I
steps.
like that. Yeah.
Oh, I know. Sometimes I'm like all in. But
It's true.
yeah. So, as a store manager, I'm sure you see things, being in there. Any like funny stories or anything that you recommend, being a store manager?
Oh gosh. I don't know.
Okay.
Funny stories. Let's see.
I don't know. I came up with that question on the fly. So I'm like, yeah, any funny stories? No, like,
I don't. I mean, honestly, it's not funny. All I can say is it's great. It's just, I can't even tell you um, how I feel like I have just found what I've been made to do.
right,
So, with having a booth and with, working as a store manager too, it's just one of those things that I don't know. I don't know how it happened, but I found it.
you
So,
found
and so I just, absolutely adore our customers. I think it's just the kind of retail that is perfect for me too.
right.
Nobody's upset, nobody's angry. It's just a relaxed atmosphere. It's just a perfect thing. So, no
Yeah.
funny story at the moment because I have to think about that for a minute.
I know, I
But
was trying to think,
you
like,
know.
anything, like, interesting happen on like I don't know. I'm sure you see things that we do not see as booth owners, so that's why I was wondering, but, because, being the store manager and then also having a booth, what has been one of your biggest challenges with your booth?
Um, I think sometimes when I think about a challenge for me is truly that I need to be better and more consistent with my social media and my marketing and things like that.
Mhm.
I definitely don't do what I should do. I can tell everyone else what they should do, and how they could,
Yeah.
but
They
then
should
I
set up a
just don't
Facebook page, you're telling
don't do that myself.
me.
I think sometimes it's one of those things that I think everyone kind of feels it where you're like, what exactly should I post or what exactly should I talk about or you know, is that vignette good enough to show and different things like that. But customers do like to see those things. So
Right.
I think that you're talking about goals. It's one of my goals. I need to get better at all of that social media consistency. So.
Mhm. Yes, and that's with my membership group, I do preach that. I'm like, consistency is definitely key, and
Mhm.
it's like see like people in my membership group. They are like either all in, kind of like with me, like restocking my booth or fluffing my booth.
Yeah.
Like I talk about I'm going to be all in, and then I ghost you. So, but with
Yeah.
social media, that's what I see too. Like they like it's like they go crazy and they're posting like multiple times a day and then all of a sudden they don't post for a month. And so at least one,
Hmm.
like show up, and customers love seeing like the back, the behind the scenes of like picking and like just your vignettes and just your booth. And it's amazing. Like you take one photo of your booth and all of a sudden they see something and they're like, I'm going in there and buying it. So,
Right. Exactly. I know. And that's why I need to give myself that grace to just do that stuff,
right.
It doesn't always have to be all the pretty stuff. It can be
Yes.
a little bit of everything.
Right.
So,
Oh
and then
yeah.
I like the idea of scheduling posts too. So I want to get better at, just kind of batching that work and scheduling a bunch at once so that I don't feel like I'm, having to think of something every single day. I can just kind of get that creative part of me going and just schedule a bunch at one time. So,
hmm That's a really good idea. Yes. I actually did that in the beginning of the year. I sat down and I scheduled posts like for a full 3 weeks. I honestly went in
wow.
and it took me like it was a Sunday afternoon. It was really a low key day and I'm like, I'm just going to do it. And then I went,
Mhm.
I kind of wrote out what I wanted to schedule or what I wanted to post each day. And I had it all scheduled and it was like, all I have to think about is creating like a reel here and there. And it was so nice. It was, I'm like, oh, it's going to go on at 8 o'clock. I'm having my post.
That's awesome though.
Yeah.
Just, I don't know. I love
But
that idea.
yeah. And then I'm like, okay, I am going to do that again. And then I did it where I added like an additional week. And then I've now been doing it on the fly again. So,
Yeah.
but it was so nice because sometimes when you like, I don't know if you feel this way, but when you try to be like, okay, I have to post something. What should I post? Oh my gosh.
Mhm.
And then I'm like trying to think of something like, I feel pressured.
Right.
And I
Right.
want it to look good or I want a perfect, like how like that perfect picture or whatever. And so it was really nice to be able to do it ahead of time and like get creative all in one day. So, but
It's a good
yeah,
thought. I think I
you
need to
do.
do that.
That
So
should be one of your goals. Yes.
it should be my goal.
Yeah. We'll help each other, Lori. We'll help
That
each
would
other
be
with our
great.
goals. Yes, yes. Ah, so, I love how we had talked about like, vignettes and things. And I love
Mhm.
how Water Street Vintage has their store stage with vignettes. And this was definitely one of my favorite things when we had our storefront, just to take all the time and creating all different vignettes in store. Like we had these big, beautiful windows and so what is the process for you guys creating your vignettes? Do you and Kelly get together, chat about it, or does she have a vision, or do you have a vision, or
I think that a lot of times for Kelly, like a lot of her vision kind of happens when she's in the car and she's driving from up north or different things like that. So she starts to think about, some some things that we can create.
yeah,
Or for instance, yesterday her and I were in the car for a couple hours and so she's driving and I am feverishly writing all of her thoughts down so that we can kind of brainstorm and different things off of that
yeah,
for how we can make each section of her area of the store finished, get done and,
yeah,
in a timely manner and things like that. And then she does that kind of with all of us though. So there's um, four of us that work there on the daily basis. And then we do have a very part-time visual person that comes in a couple times a week too to help execute things and stuff like that. So, and then a lot of times Jeff is our muscle. And
yes,
so he's helping to, get furniture placed where it needs to go and, bring new things in and stuff like that. So it really is just quite a team effort, but it really truly does start with where Kelly kind of starts to visualize and then we just start playing off of that. And
awesome.
then we usually are doing the execution part of it. So,
I love it.
but
Okay.
yeah, because it's fun for us too. It's always fun to play with other people's um,
Oh,
merchandise.
yes,
You get
yeah,
kind of tired of your own sometimes.
yes. Oh
So
yeah,
it's
absolutely.
fun to play with all of her stuff. So yeah.
So, do you go on picking missions with Jeff and Kelly? I do see a lot of behind the scenes photos of, when they go on these big picking missions, or do you just go on your own?
I truly go on my own. I mean, that is their thing,
Mhm.
and a lot of times she'll just run, if somebody calls, she'll run and see kind of what they have, and especially if they have great primitive cupboards and
Yeah.
things like that that she loves so much. And then she'll let Jeff know that they have to go pick some things up. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's
so then
awesome.
they, yeah. So again, just a huge group effort because it takes a village. So
Yes, it does. Yes, and she finds the most amazing, like, different like you said, cupboards or, like,
mhm.
hutches. I just the stuff that she finds, you guys, is just amazing.
It
So,
really is amazing.
yes, yes. And, like, so a lot of people must just reach out to her, like, knowing that she owns Water Street, I'm assuming. Is that how she stumbles upon a lot of stuff, or does she know, like, does she have her hidden gems where she goes?
That's definitely a huge part of it is people reach out, and then if this person knows that, Kelly was good to them,
Yeah.
then they tell their friend, and now their friend reaches out to Kelly. And
Awesome.
so sometimes it's just a great network of people that know each other. Um, and, I think sometimes too, it's just again that the matter of people not knowing how to get rid of their things,
Mhm.
so it never hurts to reach out.
Right.
So
Absolutely. Um, yeah. So, I know, and, like, I know you love thrifting because I've ran into you at some of the thrift stores.
I might.
Ah, and now it sounds like you have a new like, well, not a new thrifting partner, but your hubby gets to go with you. So, how often are you out, sourcing new items? Do you go at least like once a week or once a month or a couple times a
I think
month?
sometimes it depends on what I have coming up and different things like that. I think there's very few weeks in the year that I am not out there. Um, but, this would be one of those weeks that I'm not out there. I have to, um, I cannot turn the camera around right now
Okay.
because you would see everything that I'm dealing with at the moment. But it's the end of the Christmas stuff that I need to get through and I need to mark and the things, the greens and things that I want to make little arrangements with and stuff like that. So I don't allow myself to go out and gather more things because I want to deal with these things. So, but very seldom. Um, am I not wanting to go somewhere, So we've gotten to have some great trips throughout, like I said, the state this year, and then have done some others outside of the state where we've incorporated our thrifting there and back from some events we wanted to go to or different things like that. So it's just like we love exploring new territory too. So
Right.
I don't know. I love it. And sometimes I just say to myself too, like, okay, I need to get out of the house today. Where do I want to go? And I just go.
Uh-huh.
So, but it's fun for me. It's just a mental break and I love it.
I know.
So
I
I
know.
never know what I'm gonna find. That's what I love.
I know. It's
So,
like the thrill of the hunt. It
mhm.
is. Like, my friends do not get it. They're like, "Oh, gosh, you have to, like, scour through stuff?" Like, yeah,
Yeah.
I love
Mhm.
it. It's always like, "Oh my gosh, what can I find that's gonna be so cool or, like, just be so unique?" And
Right.
I don't know.
Right. And then when I have like an event like the one we just had for you with the Vintage Soul Market or the one we'll have in spring at Wendy's at Antique Acres,
Yeah,
there's always like additional thrifting that has to happen and
right.
finding all the good stuff.
I know.
And so it just depends what I have going on, how many times I go. So
Right. Yes. No, I know. I I I I have to, like, I had to cut myself off, like, as I was getting
mhm.
ready for the vintage soul market. So I haven't been thrifting, but I think I need some thrifting therapy, like, now. So, to
Yeah,
recoup. My husband's going away
exactly.
for the weekend, so maybe I'll
Oh,
yeah, maybe I'll go to the bins or something, but
there you
I don't
go. There you go.
I don't know. The bins on the weekend scare me because there's so many people there, but
Oh, really? Oh, yeah, I don't
yeah,
go on the weekends either if I go, but I
right.
don't go there very often. So,
Oh, you
but
don't?
every now and again. So,
Okay. That's where I ran
Yeah.
into you one day. I was in, I'm like,
One
Lori?
day you did. One day you did. Yep.
I know. Um, one of my goals though, and I have yet to do this, is I would love to go do like a out of state, like trip somewhere and like go thrifting, but I've
Mhm.
never done it. So I don't even know where I don't even know how to tackle it or anything. Any words of advice for me?
Well, I guess, I think
Pick
I
an
would
area?
start with kind of pick an area, yeah, see what's there,
Yeah.
and it may be that you stay in that area, or you may just want to be like, okay, well, that wasn't exactly what I thought, and move on to the next area. But I think you just have to really just get online and see what's out there, and because how do you know
I
unless you
know.
go?
Right.
So you just don't know what they have to offer unless you go. And then it helps to know if you want to go there again,
Right.
or if maybe you can skip that one next time and, try something else. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, you just have to get out there.
I know. I shouldn't say I never did that, but this is a funny story. I went, my daughter had a softball tournament in Minnesota. So I was out of state.
Yep.
And I discovered I was very close to a Goodwill bins in Minnesota. So I talked my husband into letting me go, and he's like, "Fine, I'll stay in the car." So
Oh,
he didn't even come in. So I went in and I was like, it's very different, different rules, everything at the bins in
oh,
Minnesota. So at the bins in Appleton, you have to keep your cart with you at all times. You can't
yeah.
abandon it. There, no, you just park your cart and everybody stands like side to side, like this close to each other. And then when the bins come out, everybody just starts digging and like throwing stuff in their carts, like which is behind them. It's
Oh,
so different, and you can just, like, walk around, leave your cart, nobody touches it, and you can just go from bin to bin. The other thing I noticed there is that there were no really home goods pickers, like home decor,
oh,
like vintage home decor. So, like, I saw, like, the bins come out, and I'm like, "Oh, I really want that. Oh my gosh, I really want that." And there it was, like, way on the other side, like, down on the other end. I'm like, "There's no way I'm gonna get it." And I just left my card and I just kept picking out of every bin. I got down there, I got everything I wanted.
that's amazing.
I know. I
Oh
was
my
like,
gosh.
I know. And so like my cart was full and then they don't weigh it. They kind of like look at it and they're like 1, 2, 3, they count and then they give you a dollar amount that you owe. It's so weird.
That's so interesting that it's so different.
I know.
I don't
And
know.
yeah, then
Hard
I'm
to
getting
explain.
yeah. But I was getting texts from my husband, "Are you almost done?" I'm like, "Well, I just want one more set of one more set of bins to come out." And then I'm like, "Fine, I'll check out." So I was checking out and then the bins came out and I'm like, "Dang it, I missed it." But that's okay. I'm
Yeah.
going back, I've decided. So
Well, see, you did out of state shopping. You're
yeah, I
good.
yeah, so I plan on going back there. That was one little I mean, not that far. I don't even
No, you could totally do that in a day.
I know. So then, I talked to a friend and she said that there's other Goodwills right around that, like, there's a whole slew of them that she would recommend I would should have hit. I'm like, "Oh, yeah, like, not with him, with my husband."
Right, right.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
You got to pick your battles.
absolutely. So a couple questions about you and thrifting or picking. Do you go to look for specific items, or is it just like whatever you find, or are you on the hunt for specific things for your booth?
It really is whatever I find, I find. And we're more about um, antique stores than we are thrift stores.
Okay.
When we're traveling and stuff like that. Jim's not big on the thrift store, so we don't do that, which is just fine.
Yeah.
Because I love seeing antique stores that, and just kind of compare them to ours and at Water
Yeah.
Street and, just get ideas and different things too. And so, yeah, it's really just whatever I like, I get,
Okay.
whatever I think I can, you know, make some money off of.
Right.
That
Right.
works with the aesthetic of what I'm currently doing or displaying or whatever. Um, because I mean, at the end of the day, it is about making money. So it's the
Absolutely. I
reality of
know.
the situation. So and
Oh.
yeah, and yeah, I don't know. Very seldom do I come home with something for myself. It really is more about the business than, doing it that way. So,
You're so lucky. I wish that sometimes I had that self-control, like, sometimes I like everything, and then, my daughter is always like, "Mom, you can't keep everything."
darn it.
I know. Really? Thanks, Caitlin, for telling me, But, yeah, so
Uh,
what I actually do sometimes when I really like something that I have thrifted or picked is I'll keep it for a period of time, I'll display it, and then I'll let it go, but,
mhm.
yeah, to change things
You
up.
have the resource in which to sell something, which is kind of it's it's a win-win, really.
Right.
So I think it's great.
Yeah. So, because you talked about hitting up antique stores, this is like just this thought came up. Like, I always think like sometimes some antique stores, like they know that they're antiques or they know that what they have and the prices are so, ungodly expensive. Do you feel like you find some good ones where you can find yourself a good deal? Cause do you know what I'm saying? Like some,
Absolutely, because again, when you have vendor spaces,
yeah.
every vendor prices things differently.
Okay.
Every vendor thinks differently of each
Right.
item too. Like, this McCoy pot isn't the same
Oh,
in this vendor space as this vendor space as this vendor space. So they think differently about
yeah.
different things too, based
Yeah.
on what they find important. And I think they price accordingly to that also. But
Okay.
yeah, again, we're mainly like antique store shoppers,
Okay.
really.
That's
So
interesting. I'm gonna have to try it.
yeah, I have good luck, and I think part of it too is like you were asking too, like what I'm looking for in thrifting and stuff like that. My goal last year at Christmas time was I knew what I wanted to do for this Christmas because I don't know, it just like came to me that I
Yeah.
wanted to make all these beautiful trees and I wanted to, so all year long it was about finding vintage Christmas. It was about finding just beautiful Christmas items, um, the knee hugger elves and the Santa mugs and
Oh,
the
yeah.
anything I could find that was just really awesome. And I just feel like I hit so many great things this year and just found so many great things that feel like I feel pretty proud about my Christmas displays this year.
I know,
So,
and you okay, I have to mention this. So, we actually started this podcast this morning, and we were in Lori's booth, and her booth looks so good, you guys. She's worked so hard, and
oh,
then we had an internet connection problem, so now she's home, but you can see she's got a beautiful tree in the background. But
I
your
couldn't help
booth
myself.
yeah, yeah. But your booth looks so good, and
Oh, thanks.
yes.
I
So,
appreciate it. Like I said, I feel like I'm pretty darn proud about this one. So, and I'll
yeah.
just keep adding to things as I make things, right now and stuff like that too. There's plenty of time yet to add stuff.
Right.
So,
I mean, I feel like you're way ahead of schedule. You should be feeling really proud about yours, like where you're at, because
yeah, I wanted to be ahead of schedule because otherwise I think it's just so easy for me to get so behind and then I
right.
make myself crazy. So,
Yeah.
it was a
So
goal.
that's awesome. So here's another question, because this question actually comes up quite often in my membership group about when we should be flipping our booths for like the different holidays. And so I don't know if you've noticed this, but I feel like people are flipping the booths sooner, quicker, faster for like fall, for for Christmas, for spring, like everything, like everybody's trying to get ahead of each other. So I mean, like, I was thinking, I mean, well, you're ahead of everybody for for the Christmas.
Well, not everyone.
Oh, no. I feel like well, way ahead of me.
Everyone's getting on board.
Everybody's getting on board. So, you think now is, like, the time. You
Oh,
think
for sure.
yeah.
So I may do it just a tad earlier than some others, but part of that was so my Christmas flip, for instance. Um, I just kind of know based off the year before what I want to do too. And I also knew that I needed to get ready for your market
Yeah.
also. So all things considered, everything had a timeline within those couple weeks that I needed to stay on. Plus, I have a booth at Ye Old Goat too, where you are also that had to also be done. And so everything just had a timeline this year, but I truly started setting Christmas right around September 25th-ish.
Wow. Okay.
Um, and that works for me because Christmas selling months for me are October and November. I think sometimes people kind of know by December, they're kind of done. They made their
Mhm.
decisions on how to decorate. It's after Thanksgiving, they've kind of done all the things.
Right.
So December is just a little bit like, well, if I find something I like, I'll buy it, or if I need a hostess gift or different things like that, I think is more of how customers think about December.
Right.
So really October and November are more my true Christmas selling months.
Okay.
So,
Good. Good to
so
know.
that's why I do that. So,
Awesome. And I think in December, a lot of people are now not buying for themselves, but buying gifts. And so
mhm.
they're looking that
Yeah.
way. So, yeah,
Yeah,
those are really good
definitely the
points.
mindset change on, I have my stuff kind of set and done. Now I got to think of others. Yes,
Right. Yes. Oh, absolutely.
definitely.
So, yeah, gosh, I can't wait to tell my membership group that, or actually they're probably going to all listen to this. So
Oh,
they're all going to be like, Sonnet, you steered us wrong. I mean, I didn't even steer them wrong. I was like, we didn't even really discuss it yet, like when I was going to do my booth flip, because I was so like, engulfed in like the vintage soul market and
sure.
retreat. But I know
Yeah,
I
I
have to.
definitely have my timelines for each season, mainly spring and fall and Christmas. Once I have spring set, it kind of just runs into summer and that kind of thing. But then fall gets set usually in August.
Okay.
So
Yeah. And then, like, I feel like I always start spring in like I don't know, like February. Like, I
I
always get like
start it right
spring.
after Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I'm getting spring fever earlier and
Hmm.
earlier. Well, we're from Wisconsin too. So there's like a lot of snow and like, I don't know, like after the holidays and all that pretty bright, like all the lights go down. I just want spring then. I don't know.
Right, right.
Yeah.
You just need that look forward, and where everything's not brown anymore.
Right. Yes.
And things are
Absolutely.
going to start growing and you can start decorating and it's Easter time and it's all the
Right.
things. So
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. Well, good. Going back to thrifting, so you said that you aren't looking for anything specific. What about a budget? Do you set budgets or you just are like, "Mm, whatever I buy?" Because that's how I am.
Yeah, no budgets here. So, if I know we're going somewhere, I just try to have some money in my wallet and I'm truly, as much as possible, I'm all about the cash. I just think that stores appreciate that,
Mhm.
in our business, and vendors appreciate that. And so I mean, I don't know. I love my cash, and then I kind of know exactly what I'm spending too.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so
No,
yeah,
I know. Otherwise, it's too easy to bring out that card. Ching ching. I go from
yeah,
thrift store to thrift
exactly,
store. That's
exactly.
awesome.
So yeah, so it's just again, if I like it, it's coming home with me, and but again, I have to also know that there's going to be some profit, you
Right.
know,
Oh,
with that too.
absolutely. I love how you
So,
keep mentioning that because I know, like, I mention that all the time. Like, you guys have to make a profit. You have
mhm,
to think about that. Like, you can't buy something to resell it for the exact same price. There's no point. You have to,
right.
or like, yeah. So I always kind of, hone in on that as well. So I like that.
Good.
Good business sense.
Yeah.
Because that's what we're doing it. We're not doing it just
Uh,
for a hobby. So,
I hope not.
I know.
I mean, I think that when you first start out, you kind of think of it in those terms, though, which is
Yeah,
fine. I mean, I did too. But at some point, you have to decide like what makes the most sense here. So,
right.
and it really is
Absolutely.
about, it's a job. It's about
It
making
is.
money.
It
So,
is. So, yes, like picking things that are going to sell. You don't want, just because you like them doesn't mean everyone else is going to like that, whatever you're
It's
picking.
true.
So yes, just kind of what I would recommend, like watching for, what's selling in your booth, what's not, and then maybe picking more items that are selling like that. So, and it's amazing. Move things like you talked about too, like like take that vase, move it from one side to the other, and
Hmm.
it will sell. I mean, like just
True.
rearranging things, putting it in a different light too. So, yeah,
And not just moving those smalls, but move that furniture.
make your
It's
booth look
truly
different.
not that
Yeah.
hard to move your furniture around in your booth, and it makes a difference. Those
Hmm.
customers notice.
Yes.
So,
Oh, absolutely. I know, I have a very different vision for Water Street, so I plan on doing some things. I keep changing the booth up a little bit, so, yes, I'm gonna move some stuff around and, like, coming up, so,
nice.
I'm
I'm
excited.
excited.
Yeah, me too. But so you did mention earlier about how you have to, put some different things together for your booth. But when we had spoke earlier, you mentioned that you haven't had a lot of time to create. So
Hmm.
what's really is it just what's been keeping you so busy that you haven't had a lot of time to make and be creative? Because when we were talking, at the store, you had mentioned that.
I think one of my goals this summer was I didn't want my business to be so much in my home. I tried to really, so when we've been out there this summer, one of our things was that when we got home, we unwrapped everything that we bought,
Okay.
and we didn't process it that night usually, but the next day we started immediately. And it was the cleaning and the pricing and getting it in totes, where's it going,
Yeah.
so that it left the house that week then that we bought it. Because otherwise it just, after a while it just kind of sits there and now you have all kinds of things,
Oh, I
to figure
know.
out. And so it's kind of like that was a pact we made with ourselves that that's not what we're going to do. The other thing we did was we didn't want to buy projects.
Yes.
So in my trying to get everything taken care of in my home, that doesn't mean my garage is lovely.
Yeah.
It's not. But that is a garage full of projects.
Okay.
And so whether it's furniture or small things, I feel like everything in there needs to be touched in some way, mainly with paint or maybe a little glue or fixing of some kind,
Mhm.
different things like that. So that was one of the main goals also, to help try to alleviate having any more in there.
Okay.
And um, so then eventually now I will start, little by little getting in there and start getting some of those things taken care of. But it's just been I mean, we feel like we've passed up a lot of things, but we also knew that they were projects. And we're like,
Yes.
well, we're just going to need to leave those for someone else to get.
Mhm.
And so I think that's helped a lot um, over the past several months just to get me back on track. And so then I can get out there and have the time
To
do
create.
my painting and do
Yeah.
my all the things so that, yeah, the other day I did buy that transfer from you. And then I actually created a couple things already, with it because I was like, you know what, I'm doing it. So,
Yes, I love it.
and
I
they're
know.
already in the booth. So
Awesome. Oh,
I know.
yes.
So yeah, so I felt pretty good about that. And that's just, yeah, so that's kind of what I meant, that I need to get back to the creative part, not just the flipping it part,
Mhm.
into the booth right away, but getting
Yeah.
back to getting through that garage, getting, through some of those projects.
Yes. Oh, I know.
So
I hear you. I'm constantly trying to get through all my stuff as well. So I have done a lot and I feel a whole lot better than what I did, but I still need to get through. It's just like we mentioned earlier, we love to thrift, but the cleaning up and the pricing, I'm very proud of you that you are doing that immediately because I need to start doing that and I have been better. So but
That's
these
a
are all,
very, like I said, very conscious effort,
yes,
and
yes.
I was actually, I just wanted to tell you this. I was actually very, um, I don't know, not really like, I mean, I guess you can say impressed, surprised. I didn't even know you were working on all these projects that you took to the market, and all of a sudden that booth is just full of really awesome projects that I'm like, wow, did you do videos on those or did you just do them or like what the heck? But all of a sudden you just have all kinds of new things,
I know, I know.
And I thought that was, yeah, very cool. And I don't know where you came up with the time for that, but good job.
Oh, thanks. I know. Well, and like it's funny. We like I had a vision for what I wanted that booth to look like. And initially it was just going to be all my like products. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so many like open spaces, like I have to add a little bit
Mhm.
here and then I have to add a little bit there and I got to have a display here. And thank goodness that I am constantly like doing stuff that
Yeah,
I had, yeah, I have way more stuff too.
that's okay. That's
I know.
okay.
So, but
You
all the
have booths to fill.
I do.
So
I do. Well, thank you though. Yes, I had a lot of fun doing that and the whole market was awesome. So,
I
yeah.
thought so too. It was
Yeah,
fun.
it was and
So
I love all the vendors there. Everybody works together and gets along so well and compliments each other, like everyone complimented each other. So I just thought it was great. And I heard such good things about you guys. So I
that's
was very,
awesome.
yeah, yeah. So, anyways, but I want to thank you so much for being here today. We've had some technical difficulties to deal with, but we made it through. Um, where can my viewers find you if they want to be inspired by you? So you're on like Facebook, correct? Are you on Instagram?
Mainly Facebook and Instagram at Lorabell Finds Designs. I'm on others that I don't really tackle at the moment, but those are my two
Okay.
kind of main things right now. So
All right.
yeah,
And then she can also be found at Water Street Vintage and at Yield Goat. And your booth is right next to mine
yep.
at the Goat. So I always like to call it my little DIY corner. You go around the DIY
Hmm.
corner and there's her booth. The one I didn't even know that you had moved in over there. And that one day also I'm like, Lori?
And if
So
you're just zooming in and out and you don't see the person that's there, you don't know.
right,
So
absolutely. Well, because when you originally got to the goat, you were in the room by my parents. So,
yep,
right?
it
Yeah.
was in that
So,
back bump out area. Yep,
yeah.
definitely. Yeah, and then it just
So
came about that bigger space came open, and of
that's
course I
awesome.
jumped at that. So
Absolutely. Yes, I love it. But I do want to thank you for being on the podcast today. And I just love that my viewers had the opportunity to meet you and just see how amazing you and Water Street Vintage are. And I hope that they're going to make it a stop on one of their future shopping trips. So, thanks again, Lori. And in next week's episode, you guys, I am going to be talking about how I hosted that first retreat and market. So I'm going to give you guys a wrap up of that. What did I learn? Will I do it again? This was a huge learning process for me, you guys. And I hope you join me next week as I dive into my first retreat and market. Now, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe if you are listening on any of the podcast platforms. You can also find me on Instagram, Facebook at Sonnets Garden Blooms, where I post a whole lot more content. And I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode, and we will see you guys next week. Bye.